Why do we lose hope about ever being able to heal from chronic skin picking, hair pulling, and nail biting? And it's because of what we've experienced. We've tried so many times to stop and failed so many times, time and time again. Our good intentions just go to waste. We've experienced years of feeling misunderstood, feeling isolated, struggling to find the support we're truly looking for, feeling totally alone with no idea of what to do and who to ask, who to go to for help. No wonder we lose hope. So, how do we feel hopeful about healing when we have so much past experience that tells us that it's not possible? That's what I'm going to share with you today. Because hope is not just an elusive emotion that we have to somehow find a way to catch and hold on to. There is actually a structure, a system to building hope. And it's a whole lot easier than we think. And it's my intention by the end of this episode that you feel more hope in healing and that you are able to create that hope for yourself when you need it. This is episode 98 of Beyond Skin Picking and Hair Pulling. I'm your host. My name is Raffaela Marie. I've healed from 15 years of chronic skin picking through a holistic and science-based path. I've spent 5 years absolutely obsessing over this topic, how I can heal and how I can help you to do the same. Everything I've learned that actually works, I share with you in this podcast. And if you appreciate the work that I'm doing and you want to support me, you can leave a 5-star review or a written review. Leave comments on these episodes if you can do that on the platform that you're on. Any kind of interaction that you give with this podcast, it really does support me to continue doing what I'm doing. With that being said, let's get into this episode. This particular episode was inspired by an incredible follower of mine on Instagram who responded to one of my questions in my stories. And she asked, how can we stay hopeful despite setbacks, despite roadblocks? Which is a really great question because in healing from chronic skin picking and hair pulling and nail biting, there are a lot of setbacks. It would be amazing if this were just a clear and straightforward path to healing, but it's not. There's a lot of unknown, and we're going to take a lot of paths that don't work. And so, how do we remain hopeful despite all this, despite our past experiences? And I have some great news for you because Brene Brown shared in her book, Atlas of the Heart, which I highly recommend you read, some research that was done that showed that there is actually a pathway to creating hope. It's not just an emotion. It's an actual pathway, a system, a structure that allows us to feel hope. This is a direct quote from Atlas of the Heart, Brene Brown's book. Yes, emotions play a role, but hope is made up of what researchers C.R. Snyder called a trilogy of goals, pathways, and agency. What this means is the first step, essentially, to building hope is having realistic goals, setting realistic goals. The second step is figure out the path to achieving this goal while remaining flexible, which means you are able to handle disappointment and setbacks and try new pathways when things aren't working. So we're not being super rigid in our expectations, we're able to adapt. And agency simply means you believe in yourself. You believe that you can figure it out. You can believe that you can handle it. You believe you'll find a way forward. Now, this is pretty simple and straightforward, right? And the thing is, this is also what we've actually tried to do many, many, many times when it comes to our healing from body-focused repetitive behaviors. We have set goals. We have tried to find a way to achieve those goals. We have believed in ourselves, and yet it doesn't seem to work. We find ourselves in the same place, feeling even worse about ourselves than we did before. And so the question is, why do those of us with BFRBs, body-focused repetitive behaviors, still crash and burn and feel even worse about ourselves, even when we follow this system? I know for myself, I set so many goals and intentions for myself, and I really tried so hard to find a way to attain that. And it really made me feel like I just don't even want to try anymore because there's a high chance I'm going to feel like absolute shit if I do. So why bother even trying? I'm just going to try and accept that this is my life, that this is reality. And that sucks too. It's almost like wherever we turn, we have to accept that it's going to suck either way. We just have to choose which one sucks less, which is kind of depressing. It's kind of sad. It's disappointing, and it makes us feel hopeless. So how can this pathway to building hope actually work for us? Let's look at the definition of hope first. Hope is a feeling of expectation and desire for a particular thing to happen. The biggest problem I've seen with pretty much everyone I've ever worked with or spoken to who struggles with these behaviors is that we have ridiculously unrealistic expectations of ourselves. We set really unrealistic goals. And the first step of the pathway to building hope in ourselves is to set realistic goals. And if we don't set realistic goals, we are setting ourselves up for failure. We are setting ourselves up to experience what we just talked about. So let's walk through this process together. These 3 steps and see how can you actually apply this process to healing from a body-focused repetitive behavior in a way that actually builds you up rather than breaks you down. And trust me, this was the key to my healing. This is what kept me going through all the challenges. So the first step, be realistic with your expectations. And this means focus on what you want and not what you don't want. This is honestly what I see a lot of us doing is we know exactly what we don't want. I don't want to pick anymore. I don't want to pull. I don't want to bite anymore. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to waste my time anymore. But what do you want? Okay, I want more confidence. I want more peace. I want to feel better about myself. I want nicer skin. I want nicer hair. These are great, but they're also a bit vague, and they're still not really addressing the root cause of why we engage in these behaviors. And if we set realistic goals that help us to address the root cause of why we engage in these behaviors, we will move forward, we will heal, we will grow, we will feel proud about ourselves because we are becoming a version of ourselves that we love and we're proud of. And as a byproduct, the need to engage in these behaviors is going to reduce. Trust me when I say this, I see this all the time. And this was very much a part of my healing journey as well. So here's what to focus on. When it comes to looking at setting realistic goals that will actually help you to heal, we're not actually going to focus that much on the BFRB itself, which can sound kind of weird. But the BFRB is a symptom of a problem. It is not the core problem. We want to focus on the problem. When we do that, we actually start to make a difference. Now, these behaviors are a product of stress, chronic stress. Here are some key areas that I've noticed that when we improve in these areas, they drastically impact how we experience stress and anxiety, how we manage them, and then in turn have an effect on how much we need BFRBs. The first area I notice is in communication. How good are you at communicating how you feel, what you need to other people? How good are you at asking for help when you need help? When there is conflict, are you able to back yourself, or do you tend to shrink and make yourself small or feel small? Or do you tend to become bigger than you are and try to dominate or shut the other person down? Our capacity to communicate is key. Not just communicate with other people, but communicate with ourselves. And communication with ourselves is done through emotion. Emotions are the language of our body. And so the better we get at identifying how we're feeling or that we're feeling something, the better we get at regulating our emotions and meeting our needs. Because every single emotion has a need behind it. It has a little message to say, hey, this is what I need right now to feel well, to regulate myself. When we struggle with communication with other people and ourselves, we aren't able to be our authentic self. We don't set boundaries when we need to set boundaries. We overgive, we people please. We struggle to know when to say no, when to say that's enough, when to say I need a break, because it's our body that says, no, that's enough. No, that's too much. No, I don't want to do that. Yes, I do want to do that. Yes, I'd love to do that. Actually, I need help. Actually, that's not okay. I think we need to have a conversation. All these things go unsaid and they lie underneath the surface. And we are abandoning ourselves, betraying ourselves, ignoring ourselves, dismissing ourselves, neglecting ourselves, and this generates chronic stress and anxiety. And where do we let that out? On our skin, on our hair, on our nails, our body. And then there's other key areas like our inner critic, how we speak to ourselves, learning how to heal your inner critic. Because if you have someone, aka yourself, constantly telling you how much you suck, that you can't do this, like, why do you do this, like mocking you or putting you down or judging you, criticizing the things that you do, that's stressful. That's a stressful place to be inside your body. And then, of course, we're going to feel the need to escape from that experience. And that escape is found through picking, pulling, and biting. So we want to make the experience that we have inside our body, we want that to be loving and nurturing most of the time. We're not perfect. We're not going to be perfectly loving and nurturing, but most of the time we want to feel like I feel safe in my body and my mind. I feel welcome inside my body and my mind. Do you feel welcome inside your own mind? Do you feel at home inside your own mind and your body? Another key area is also just learning how to better manage your lifestyle. And that comes down to phone use. Are you regularly eating 3 meals a day? Are you drinking enough water? Are you going to bed at a reasonable time? Do you have a routine that sets you up for a good sleep? And I just want to stop for a second and say, wow, don't get overwhelmed. I'm not trying to overwhelm you with all these things because it's possible you're seeing with everything that I'm saying, like, oh, yeah, I can do something there. I can do something there. I can do something there. Oh, let's take a second. Take a breath. All I want to do is give you examples of areas that I've seen that when people focus on working on these, on improving these for themselves, that they grow as an individual. They feel better about themselves. They access more of their authenticity. And it has a really positive influence on their BFRB. And all these things that I've said, they're at the root cause of why we engage in these behaviors. So if you just look at your life and see what is causing me chronic stress? Is it that I'm avoiding having hard conversations? Am I really disconnected from my body? I can't say for you what to focus on because I don't know you and your life. For every person, it can be different. The specific thing that they could focus on right now that would help. But how about, this just came to my mind. Let's make it a little bit more simple. Think about when you engage in chronic skin picking, hair pulling, or nail biting. Think about the last time you engaged in this behavior, or the last time it was really bad. And ask yourself, what did I need in that moment? What was I not giving myself? What was I doing leading up to that might have contributed to my need to pick or pull or bite? What was I not doing leading up to that might have contributed to my need to pick or pull or bite? Maybe it was consuming too much news. Our brains are not wired to take in the amount of negative things that come up on your Facebook or Instagram feeds. Maybe you realize you haven't slowed down in quite a while. Get curious about what is actually causing me to need this behavior because you need it for a reason. And when you get curious and ask yourself these questions and follow that thread, you'll see, oh, so I can focus on this right now to help myself to heal. This happened for me about 5 years ago when I got really curious after a really bad relapse, feeling like absolute shit. I asked myself, what is actually going on here? And I realized through that question and curiosity, I realized, oh, it's anxiety. I don't know how to deal with my anxiety other than through skin picking. And so I started to read books. I listened to podcasts. I started to inform myself. I eventually joined a program. I got a coach. I got support. I talked to people. I found ways. It wasn't just anxiety that also took me to other things that I saw like, oh, this is contributing to the anxiety and this is contributing to the anxiety. And I was able to work on those things. It allowed me to take it from this huge thing that I didn't really know what to do with of, okay, it's anxiety. What do I do with this? And allow me to figure out the small ways that it showed up in my life. And I could handle those small things. I could start with those small things and find a way. And addressing just small things in small chunks, in small moments, has allowed me to become the person that I am today. And it is what I see allows my clients to heal is by addressing just a small thing at a time. That's how we can be realistic with our expectations. Get really specific on just one area of your life where you see, I feel a bit stuck here. I feel like I'm not myself. And look at how you can grow. And if you don't know how, inform yourself. We have the internet. There are so many ways that we can learn and figure out how to find a way forward. It's great to have the goal of, I want to be free from chronic skin picking or hair pulling or nail biting, but that's not the big goal to focus on. We want to make it more realistic and smaller and more achievable. And without even realizing it, we already talked about the second step, which is how do you get there? Figuring out the path to actually achieving the thing that you want to achieve, which is, like I said, read books, articles, blog posts, podcasts, get a coach or a therapist, join programs, see what you feel drawn to and try it out for a few months. And I have a rule with myself that when I do something new, I commit to it for 3 months to see if it really does make a difference. This pulls us away from the magic pill illusion, thinking like, oh, this is the thing that's going to work. And if it doesn't work in the first few weeks or the first month, then we give up and we try the next thing. Typically, something to really see results from most things, we want to do it for a few months. So give it a few months to really see if it's going to work for you. Try new things. Be flexible. See, okay, well, that isn't really working for me. I'm going to try something new. You're not failing if something that you try doesn't work. It's just information of, oh, this doesn't really work for me. That's also why I say give it a few months, because maybe it does work. It just needs a bit more time. You can also, this just crossed my mind, you can also join my free WhatsApp support group. I had a lady post in there this morning who asked, what are some techniques or practices that others use after a bad day of picking to help comfort and soothe and not perpetuate the feelings of shame? That is a person getting curious, looking for answers, reaching out for support, using the resources at their fingertips to find a way to move forward. That's what the second step means, of find your path forward. And if you can do that through connecting to other people, I really think that's the most powerful and empowering way, especially with things like BFRBs, because we do feel so isolated and we do feel so misunderstood. So the more we interact with other people, talk to other people about this, the more empowered and understood we're going to be. And also the more we're going to be able to let go of that shame. Now, the third part is agency, building belief in yourself. And the first thing I want to say is that when you set realistic expectations, realistic goals, when you look at, oh, what are some practices or techniques I can learn to help myself to soothe and comfort myself and to not perpetuate the shame, to release the shame? What can I do there? When you focus on something like that, that is so realistic and achievable. You are going to figure that out, especially when you reach out for support. So already by setting a realistic expectation for yourself, you're already building self-belief. And then as well, I want you to know this. Know that setbacks and disappointment are part of the process. You can't possibly know exactly what it takes for you to heal at every step of your journey, because you have never walked this path before. Every step you take in a different direction is a new step, it's a new experience. And you figure out if it's the right step through trial and error. No amount of thinking can prevent you from taking a wrong step sometimes. So you're not failing when something doesn't work. You're engaging in learning and growth. And that's really hard sometimes. And it's okay if you feel disappointed. And it's okay if you're hurt or upset or if you're exhausted. It's okay. Just know that you're not alone in this. And there are people who understand what you're going through. I understand what you're going through. There are people here to support you. I am here to support you if you're needing some encouraging words or some comforting words or just some words to make you feel like you're not so alone. I think it's a rite of passage as a human to struggle through something. I really believe it teaches us how important community is, especially with something like a BFRB. There are very few of us who can heal from this alone, because one of the reasons why we started to develop these behaviors is because we felt so alone at some point in our life. We felt alone with how we were feeling. We didn't know how to handle or what to do with how we're feeling. We didn't know if we could talk to anyone about it. And that's hard. That hurts. And so we look for some soothing and comfort and escape in something that's really convenient. And it's through connection that you will heal. And so connection is a big part of anyone's healing journey. In fact, I had a call with a lady recently, and I was the first person she'd ever talked to about chronic skin picking. And at the end of the call, I told her the next step for you is to talk to people about this. Share this with your closest friends. Share this with your therapist. And this was after a very beautiful conversation. So it was very clear that when she shares this with her closest friends and her therapist, that she'll be met with a lot of kindness and love and acceptance. And bringing something that we feel ashamed of or critical of ourselves of, bring it into the light, and then having someone reflect back to us love and acceptance and understanding and kindness, even if they don't fully understand, but just having that kindness reflected back to us, it is soothing and healing in itself. And that's how we build hope, even if you can't just stop picking, pulling, or biting. That's like one thing that you can't do. It's one thing that you can't do against hundreds of things that you can do. And doing just one of them is going to help you to move further and feel better about yourself. And if you want to join my free WhatsApp support group, send me a message. You'll find the link in the show notes to send me an email. It's on my website. Or you can message me on social media. share with me what has inspired you to join the private support group. And then what I'll do is I'll say, hey, so lovely to meet you. Here's the link to join us. And you will click on the link and you'll get access to the WhatsApp group. It's as simple and easy as that. Thank you very much for spending this time with me. I hope you found it very helpful. And I look forward to seeing you next week for the next episode of Beyond Skin Picking and Hair Pulling.